Good morning, you're watching Mirror Now. I'm Sanjana Chauhan. It's our top story of the hour. A miniature version of the contentious steel flyover is back to haunt the city of Bengaluru. The Congress JDS government is going to bring back the project, which met with staunch opposition by activists and the public, with changes. While the state government suggests that the proposed elevated corridor will help ease the traffic woes of the IT city, citizens remain adamant that it will cause massive environmental damage. Not just this, as per environmentalists, over 3,000 trees will be cut for this project, which will be completed in the 4 years at a cost of 24,000 crore rupees.
Bangalore is proposing for a 150 elevated corridor, and definitely we have to question whether it's really required, or can we convert this kind of amount to some other small projects like that. Because Bangalore need a comprehensive planning also, as well as the designs also. Unfortunately, the 150-kilometer corridor will be having a through A to B, point A to B, and also whether it will have a ramps, up ramp or down ramp to various roads, maybe Outer Ring Road, maybe ITPL Road, maybe the Hosur Road. So all these things should be seen. First of all, any flyover, as a matter of fact, more you construct, more number of vehicles will pass. That's the unfortunate thing. And even as a matter of fact, make circle, once upon a time it was creating a lot of congestion, delays. When they considered the underpass, it has all the problems shifted to Hebbal. Similarly, Hebbal, they went for the flyover, the problem shifted to Yelahanka. Like that, we are only pushing through the problem and not perennially solving the problem at all.
This project is not feasible. Another thing is what they said it at 3,500 trees, they're going to relocate it. That we really know how feasible it is and everything. So that has to be looked into this one. And whatever the project elevated corridor is going to happen, it has to go through a public consultation. Then only this project is going to. But IAC itself is said already, after if the project is completed, the congestion will be more and the pollution will be more. So that has to be looked into this one. And all the people of Bengaluru is not saying yes to this project because we are going to lose a maximum tree from this project.
My sense, and I may be wrong in this, but my sense is the sheer breadth of the project, the sheer size and impact, the lack of perhaps very strong-willed interaction, as we saw the last time in the steel flyover, makes me believe that this is something which is a checkbox in terms of moving forward, and it doesn't really have the might or the grit or the granularity to take forward. My feeling is that after some time, this project will run against a couple of problems and then will just die a natural death.
My colleague Shrija now joining us live from Bengaluru. Shrija, good morning. It seems to be another flyover proposed, but the problems in the city remain the same.
A very good morning to you too as well. But of course, today what we are looking at is a story as far as the flyover is concerned. Now, remember, just a year ago, we saw how the steel flyover project ran into many controversies. And just like Priya Chetty, in fact, spoke saying that it died down. This is going to be just another project because remember, they had just thrown this particular project open for public consultations. And we're also expecting quite a lot of objections from the people. It's not just citizens that we're talking about, but also experts. We have traffic experts, urban planners, and also environmentalists, where they say this is just not going to be feasible for various reasons. The first reason that we're talking about, now, this project will be completed in 4 different phases, and it will run nearly about 102 kilometers, which means we understand that nearly 24,000 crore rupees will be invested. Now, this is the kind of money which will be pumped into this particular project. Again, remember, we're talking about at a time when we want to, in fact, decongest the roads here in the city. We see that the government is now coming up with another project where they say that they want to, in fact, come up with at least flyovers so that, in fact, remember, already the vehicles that we're talking about stands at nearly 75 lakh today, as on today. So the next 4 years, you can only imagine the number of vehicles that can get added up. Now, that is one of the reasons why we understand the citizen activists are protesting, and they say they do not want this project.
Right.
Secondly,
Shrija, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but just to, just to back what we're trying to say, we also have Naresh Narasimhan joining us on the phone line. He's an architect, an urbanist and an urban planner. Mr. Narasimhan, thank you so much for speaking with Mirror Now. Tell us a little about this controversial flyover or Bengaluru's elevated corridor, because it appears that while citizens, kind of think that this proposed project is a good idea, considering it will solve the problem of traffic, they perhaps are unaware, like the rest of the city, the rest of the state, about the possible socio-environmental impact that it will have with regards to a project of this scale.
Yeah. See, I just step a little back and tell you that flyovers are required only in 3 situations in a city, all flyovers do, and the world has proved it, is that it just shifts congestion from one point to another. It does not solve the underlying problem of traffic congestion at all. Anywhere in the world now, they're demolishing all these flyovers and restoring the street back to the citizens and focusing on how to give mass transit to move people. Flyovers only help private cars and private vehicles, and they really do not help the relieving traffic congestion at all. On top of that, if they're going to build it above the ground, it is going to make the city into a construction site for the next 10 years, with the resultant pollution, and we already are seeing what happens when we build the metro above ground. For the last 10 years, the whole city is in a mess. Imagine that they're going to build 100 kilometers of this snaking through the city, and the whole premise is completely wrong. The entire world has shown that it is not the right thing to do, but for some reason or the other, they are continuously proposing this project, which is not at all a good project for Bangalore. And, a famous mayor of Bogota once said, there are 2 ways to destroy a city. One is with a nuclear bomb, the other is with elevated roads. This is a guy called Penalosa, who was the mayor of the city. And really, from a people-friendly solution, it is not at all a people-friendly solution. It is a chauffeur-driven somebody who's sitting in a chauffeur-driven car person's project who thinks by building this they can get around the city faster.
Right.
But they don't understand that if you go and build this, more people will buy cars, more private vehicles, and by the time this is built, the situation will be exactly the same as it is today, and nothing will change.
Right, because Mr. Narasimhan, there's also there was a report published a couple of months ago that kind of questioned the usefulness of this corridor, since Bengaluru's vehicle growth is likely to overshoot the road capacity as early as 2020.
No, see, the tragedy of Bangalore is that 6,500 buses transport 50% of all the trips made in Bangalore today. The government is now saying that why don't you double the number of buses and put high-speed buses into a designated lane?
Mm-hmm.
The answer from the government is there is no space for buses. But in Bangalore, every single day, more than 2,000 vehicles are registered. Private vehicles are registered every day. But for 6,000 more buses, there is no place on the road. I find this kind of arguments completely fallacious and probably driven by concerns which are nothing to do with solving anybody's problem. There are a lot of expert groups or so-called styled expert groups who keep saying that let us do this and let us do that.
Right.
But there is no public consultation, and this is getting out of hand actually.
Right. Mr. Narasimhan, thank you so much for speaking with Mirror Now. Let me quickly go back to my colleague Shrija, who is still live with me from Bengaluru. Shrija, in these multi-year construction projects like these, it is important to assess the environmental impact as we have been saying. It's important to assess these impacts comprehensively. So not only do we have the problem of tree cover, the problem that we're going to be cutting and felling a lot of trees with regards to building this flyover, but there's also the possible impact to air quality, because let's remember, construction will affect the health of the people nearby. It will affect traffic reorientation, and even the additional traffic burden on a project like this will put on the city.
Well, absolutely, Sanjana, because let me bring you an analogy over here. Now, the places where these flyovers are coming up in 4 different phases that we're talking about, already there is traffic congestion reported. So when there is traffic congestion at a point, you understand that the amount of pollution level that we're talking about here. Now, the government comes up with a project saying that let's in fact decongest the roads which already reports traffic congestion. Now, you can only imagine, just like how Naresh Narasimhan pointed out by saying that elevated corridors, the flyovers which are above the ground level. You can imagine the amount of vehicles on the ground level and as well as the above the ground level, which means we understand that not just the traffic will shoot up, but also the air quality will go down. And those are the particular stretches that we understand where the flyover is going to come, where nearly over 3,000 trees will be, in fact, according to the government, they're very convinced with the fact that they will be relocated. Some of them will be relocated. But is that the solution is what the environmentalists are also questioning?
Right. Shrija, stay with us because we also have noted environmentalist Leo Saldana joining us on the phone line. Leo, good morning. Thank you so much for speaking with Mirror Now. We're looking at a possible loss of green cover. We're looking at impact on air quality. But what are the other mobility alternatives? What are the other transit solutions? If you can just, give us, any viable options that can be considered, because this almost appears to be a go-ahead.
Well, it's not a go-ahead because we have been in touch with officials from the government of Karnataka.
Okay.
At the most senior level, and we have said to them that what they are now doing is not appropriate or legal at all. There are at least 4 judgments of the High Court will be violated frontally, and they are aware of it. And so we are going to draw them out into public consultations, and they are willing to do that, and that's a very positive sign. Because what is happening on the state side is they are being pushed to deliver solutions. And typically what happens is fly-by-night operators come from Delhi and London and elsewhere. Basically, these are the contractors who want this big elevated corridor. And quite unfortunately, some of the leaders of Indian high-tech industries, Kiran Mazumdar-Shah, Mohandas Pai in particular, have been aggressively promoting these corridors. So they are not thinking through. They just want a solution. 20 years ago, when the Electronic City corridor was clogged, they basically pushed for an elevated corridor.
Right.
And they got their elevated corridor, and now they have congestion below and congestion above. Now, if you just want to telescope this problem across the city, it's not going to solve. There's no way you can build your way out of it. What you need to do is you have to actually construct public transport solutions. Now, much of the road space that is now being used is used very ineffectively and inefficiently. There's a lot of reasons for that. We can't get on a TV thing, but what I would like to say is if we can actually be intelligent about road design, crafting roads, roads have to be crafted like you craft a sculptural piece. Then you'll accommodate the needs of pedestrians, cyclists. Bangalore is a city where you can walk from anywhere to anywhere else, cycle from anywhere to anywhere else. I grew up in the city cycling across it. Today, if I do that, it's a death wish. Now, I would like to say it is my right to cycle, and the state must protect it. But wherever you go, you don't even have a piece of land to cycle on. Now, children I know are growing up without even knowing the joy of cycling. Now, that's a tragedy. It's more than a tragedy also because of the public health disaster. Everyone is becoming sedentary and sitting in cars and, getting stuck in traffic, and there's no place. And I just came back from Delhi, and you can see in neighborhoods in Delhi, roads are clogged in the night with cars. Whatever goes up has to come down. And when they come down, they have to pass these cars.
Right.
And it is creating conflicts in neighborhoods. So I think we have to really, really think hard and get out of this trap of, building these expressways because China did it, Japan did it.
Right.
We don't have to be as stupid as they are.
Right. Leo Saldana, environmentalist, thank you so much for speaking with Mirror Now. Bengaluru's controversial flyover. A look at the controversy behind Bengaluru's corridor project. We understand that is going to be fairly controversial and a bone of contention in the city.